Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of the Energy Expansion Podcast. Today feels extra fun because I'm going to be bringing you behind the scenes, and I want to give you a peek at what has unfolded both personally and professionally throughout the first quarter of 2025. So, at the time of this live recording, we're just barely wrapping up the first week of April. And I like to, and I invite my clients, also, some of our very first podcast episodes were all about reflection. So I like to take myself through a monthly reflection process. And then at the end of March, at the end of the last month of each quarter, I'll actually do a quarterly reflection. So it'll be a little bit bigger. And it just feels really appropriate. If you've been hanging out with us here on the Energy Expansion Podcast since the very beginning, one of our very first episodes was a review of last year. And I was also, with that, sharing some of my goals and intentions for the year ahead. And so this kind of 90-day into the new year check-in feels really fun. This was also a great opportunity for me to really sit down and look at the quarter. This is something that I would normally do on my own anyway, but knowing that I was going to create a podcast episode, there was a little more depth and intentionality, admittedly, than what I would normally bring to something like this. So my goal here is to offer you a real, vulnerable, and empowering look at the wins, the wobbles, and what has been expanding in all different areas of my world, my life, my business, all the things. Like, there's nothing off limits. So the way we're going to do this, I was like playing with different ways of organizing this. It's a little bit chronological. And then we're looking at business, motherhood, wellness. And I'm going to also share some of my biggest lessons and things that I'm working through, like things I'm working on with my own coaches. So January is defined by foundations and forward momentum. If you remember, because we did this together, it feels like a really fun place to start is just a reminder that the Energy Expansion Podcast launched on New Year's Eve. Like, I literally created a Buzzsprout account. Shout out to Buzzsprout. It is such a cool tool. There are just two tools that I use for podcasting. They're so easy. They're so amazing. They're so convenient. I literally cannot live without them. I didn't know what Buzzsprout was before December 31st. And the morning of New Year's Eve, one day before we kicked off 2025, I started a Buzzsprout account. I uploaded a few episodes because I had been recording episodes, and I hit publish. And so we have not missed a week of podcasting. I think we are at 14 or 15 episodes, however many weeks we are into the new year. I'm not a math girly, so you can do the math on that. But we haven't skipped a week, and we are just shy of 1,000 downloads. So I'm certain that by the time this episode goes live, we will have surpassed 1,000 downloads, which, to do that in 3 months is pretty darn good from what I understand. I just want to thank all of you before we go into any more of the reflection. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time to listen, to rate, to review, to share. I'm a little speechless, which, if you know me, like, I don't ever feel speechless. There's just so much love and gratitude that I have. Admittedly, I didn't know if podcasting was going to be for me. People had shared with me for a while, like, you'd be really good at this. You should do it. And there was something in me that was resisting it, even on December 31st of 2024. The day we went live, I was like, I don't know. And it is quickly becoming one of my favorite creative outlets. I think about you, our podcast fam, like 24/7. How I can't wait to share the things I'm learning, the things I'm loving, and how I can provide value for you. So there's that. Now, a little bit more on the personal side. January was so much quality time with people I love, I am a big fan of vision boarding events. I have an episode all about vision boarding. If you want to check that out, you may know this about me, but I'm a really big fan of vision boarding. I build a vision board for myself every year. I typically host a few different vision boarding events. Some of them are really casual and they're my friends. I'm often hired and contracted at least 1 to 2 times a year to lead vision boarding and goal setting events for different organizations and companies. And this year I did something I had never done before. I hosted a mommy-daughter vision boarding brunch at my house. It was a hit. I am planning on doing this every single year moving forward. So that was a really cool way to kick off the new year. Speaking of being contracted and hired to lead these events, I was contracted and hired to lead a vision boarding event in the Bay Area. If you don't know, my roots are in the Bay, which is Northern California, a little bit east of San Francisco. And my family and I right now live in Southern California. And so I love and will jump on any opportunity to go back home, to be with my people. And so the kids and I actually hopped in the car. My hubby stayed home. He had to hold down the fort here. And it was myself, my 3 kids. We drove up to the Bay. The kids got to hang out with my mama while I was doing my work magic. And it really was that. It was absolutely magical. We did another road trip in January at the very end of January. So we kicked off the month of January with a road trip and we wrapped it up. I calculated it out. And in the month of January, I single-handedly drove over 2,000 miles and spent over 30 hours in the car. And I loved every minute of it. Call me crazy. There are a few things I love more than a good road trip. So that was a big part of January. Also, fun fact, my husband and I met for the very first time in January. And it wasn't just any kind of meeting, it was a blind date. Did you know that my husband and I were set up on a blind date? That's how we met. First and last blind date I've ever been on. It's safe to say that it was a successful one because this past January, we celebrated 15 years since that date. And we went on that date January 8th to be specific. And we were exclusive pretty quickly after that. We were like magnets toward each other and still the same way. That's how I feel. You might have to ask him if he feels that magnetic pull towards me, but I feel it towards him. He's definitely my best friend in the whole wide world. And we had so many fun home projects too. This felt really big. It wasn't just like when I say that we did home projects, it's really meaningful. And if you want the full scope, this is so fun to have so many podcast episodes. I'm realizing this in real time. I'm like, go listen to this episode, go listen to that one, go listen to that one. But really, there is a podcast episode that we have called Healing the Land, a story that I never could have imagined and I never thought I'd tell. When we made the move here to the home we're in a little bit over 18 months ago, there was a lot of uncertainty. We weren't sure if this was the right place for us. There was a lot coming up energetically and emotionally, and that created a ton of hesitation and resistance towards making this house a home. So the fact that I picked out paint, I think any other time I've picked out a lot of paint, I've painted a lot of walls, we've halfway fixed, I can't say renovated. We've never renovated anything, but we've spruced up and freshened up every home we've ever lived in, which at this point is like a good 4 or 5 of them. But the fact that I picked out paint for this house was really deeply meaningful. And it was proof of like healing and a real energetic shift. So switching out light fixtures and fans and fixing things up and painting the accent wall. I have like a really beautiful deep purple. It's called Royal Raisin. Go check it out. It's like the Home Depot's brand of color. That's where we're getting all of our paint. Royal Raisin, I'm obsessed with. It's like the main wall behind our bed. And then I was dreaming of and envisioning, which is so funny because I'm like not a designer, so I don't always trust my vision when it comes to aesthetics. It's just like not my thing. I wish it was, and it's not. But I really wanted a navy blue entryway, like when you first walk in the door. and we ended up going with midnight blue, and it's literal perfection. So it feels good to be in a space where I am fully on board, aligned, and congruent with making this house a home. We also started the DKC book club. I want to use that a little bit loosely because we did one book. The book club, we finished it. It was amazing. We read together the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. It just seemed like at the start of this year, everyone and their mom wanted to read that book, myself included. And so when I shared with people I got that book, a few people were like, it'd be really fun if we could read it together. So I was like, let's start a book club. And so we started it, we finished strong. It was amazing. We had this digital community where we were sharing a little bit each day. We did a couple of meetings on Zoom, and then that was that. We may pick up that book club idea again with another book later in the year, but it felt good to start and finish our first book inside of that book club. One other thing that really made a world of a difference for me in January, and I have not talked about this very much, is I am inside of a membership that I love a ton. It is hosted by a woman. Oh, she's my favorite. Shout out if you listen to this. I'm going to send it to her. Her name is Victoria Washington, and she has a membership called the House of We. WE is an acronym for wealth embodiment. And I've been in this membership, like I'll be in it for a little while and then I'll take a pause and I'll jump back in. But I've been in it on and off for almost 4 years, like almost since it started. We were invited to participate in something known as a financial fast. So it's a financial fast because that is one of the core themes and focal points of this membership. But the fast itself didn't have to do directly with finances. The fast had to do with giving something up that you felt was a distraction or a crutch or something that maybe you're using in an unhealthy way. And then we were going to use the lens of finances over that. I hope that's landing. And so I really wanted to participate. Like I knew that the financial fast was coming up, and I knew that some people were giving up alcohol and some people were giving up sugar and other just different things. It was the morning that it was going to start. And again, I knew I wanted to participate, but I was like, I don't know what I'm going to give up. And all of a sudden I heard God say very specifically, you're going to give up Netflix. But I knew it was more than that, because if you're anything like me, then you don't just have Netflix. You have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have Peacock, you have Freevee, you have the Faith Family Channel, you have Disney Plus, you have Amazon Prime. I just listed off a ton of them really quickly, and I think that there's more than that. So really what I heard loud and clear was like, you're going to give up TV. I just don't say TV because I think of cable TV, and we haven't had cable TV in a really long time. So like streaming services, Netflix, all of those things. And at first I was like, what? Okay, God, like that's no big deal, because I didn't feel like I was watching that much TV. And admittedly, I don't know, it's kind of subjective, right? Like what is a lot for one person might not be a lot for another. But I'm a big fan of the Bravo stuff, which you can find on the streaming service called Peacock. And I love Real Housewives. I love a kind of a raunchy, you probably don't know this about me, like I love a raunchy reality series. I would binge all of the Love is Blind things as soon as they would come out, and the ultimatums, the like relationship shows. I really loved those. And I've actually, in the last couple of years, I used to have an obsession with true crime. After becoming a mom, I had a harder time watching it. And then like with each kid that I had an even harder time watching it. So I haven't been able to watch true crime in a while, but I loved a good documentary. And so I was like, this is going to be so easy to give up TV and streaming services. And in a lot of ways it was easy, but in some ways it wasn't. Like I noticed myself craving Real Housewives, which comes out on Wednesdays. Well, there's different days, but the ones I like to watch come out on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So like that little inclination to grab it and watch it on a Wednesday or Thursday, I was like, oh, nope, not going to do that. And throughout this span of time, the newest Love is Blind came out. I'm so freaking proud of myself because I have not watched it. I have no desire to watch it. But what ended up happening at the end of this fast was we got on this call. We had an end celebration call to talk about how the fast was for you. And I was invited to share my experience, and I honestly felt kind of silly. I like blurted it out when I said that I'd given up TV, and I didn't feel like previously I'd watched TV, but I said, I feel like I got my life back, which was such a weird thing to say because, again, I feel like I'm a productive person. I feel like I'm an organized person. I feel like I spend a lot of time doing a lot of amazing things, like being a mom and what I think is a really good wife. Again, you'll have to ask my husband about his thoughts on that, and like doing the work that I do in the world. But I feel like my desire, my craving for some of those shows, and no judgment, like I'm going to call it trashy TV because it is trashy, and I don't have any shame for having cravings for that at some point. And so no judgment on you. But I felt like it was just kind of pulling my attention. And now, since giving that up in January, and here we are like almost at April, since January, I mean, we are in April now, but since January, I've probably watched, there's a caveat here. On my own, I've watched less than 5 hours of, like, I have dove into little documentaries here and there after the fast. And here's the caveat. There's certain shows that we like watching together as a family. And so if it's family time and we're going to sit on the couch and watch some sort of like adventure or like kind of lighthearted thriller, I don't count that. It was when I was taking time out of my own schedule or like rolling over at the end of the night. My husband would watch something on TV and I would roll over and I'd pull out my phone and my Bluetooth headphones and like watch something on the tiny screen. I have not done any of that. It feels really good. Also, I'm really proud of how much I've been moving my body. I feel like I've been working out more consistently this year than I have in a really long time. And I did promise you when we kicked off this episode that I was going to share all of it. So really vulnerably, I have to tell you that not at this moment, like I feel okay in my body right now, but the start of this year and honestly, like most of last year, I have felt less comfortable in my body than I have in a really long time. My son River turned 3 last month. And so I'm 3 years postpartum, but there was just something about that like third kid. I feel like with my 2 other kiddos, my daughters, I was also younger. There's so many factors to consider. But I feel like with my daughters, my postpartum season, I knew what to do. I knew what to eat. I knew how to track my macros. I knew the way to move my body, that like the weight just melted off. And that didn't happen this time. And so I'm very proud of my consistency and my commitment this year. And also there's something deeper to look at in terms of health. And if I'm being completely honest, when I say there's something deeper, I mean there's something deeper. There's been quite a bit of effort on my part, like really clean eating. I love tracking my macros. It's actually something I enjoy. Like it doesn't feel hard or restrictive for me. Again, I've been weightlifting and digging into Pilates, but not feeling the scale budging. And I know it's not all about the scale, but like my body is not moving and shifting and transforming in the way that it should, right? The way that I know it has in the past. And so I really feel like there's honestly some emotional and energetic stuff that I need to look at. I think that the extra weight that I'm carrying represents something. And I think it's a form of protection. And I just don't know what that is right now. So getting really vulnerable. Okay. Let's dig into, I'm like really just laying it all out here. That was a lot. January was big. So I want to dig into February and March, which are represented by holy shifts, magnetic expansion, and soulful stretching is what we'll call this. So it was actually in March. We're going to bop around a little bit. In March, we celebrated my son's 3rd birthday, which was so cool, so fun. And we did something very different that I'm excited to share with you. I'm going to contradict myself in just a second. For his 3rd birthday, for the first time ever, this is insane. So my husband and I were adding this up. We have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. So if you add that up, that's 20, right? I'm not a math girly, but that's simple math. And my son just turned 3. So between our 3 kids, this is insane when you do the math. Between our 3 kids, that's 23 birthday celebrations. What? And so out of the 23 birthday celebrations between our 3 kids, that just doesn't make any, like, my mind doesn't believe it. But if you do the math, it's very real. This was the first time we ever opted not to have an official traditional party. And at first I had a little bit of guilt come up around this, but I don't love, and again, I'm going to contradict myself, I don't really love throwing parties. And it's just not my favorite. It's not my husband's favorite. He's still not, I was going to say he's still so little. I hope you know I'm talking about my son, not my husband. And so we said, what if we do something a little bit different this year? He's really into animals, specifically alligators, like obsessed with alligators. And so we were like, well, let's do a day at the zoo. And then we'll go to a bounce house. And he loves pizza. So we'll get pizza. And I love a good photo wall. My kids love it. So we decorated the house as if we were going to have a party. And it was so fun. And it was the absolute best. And we got to spend the most amount of quality time together as a family of 5. Like, it was so good. It was so amazing. And then the contradiction comes in that we had promised him that when he was fully potty trained, that we would throw him a poop party. I did not come up with this on my own. We attempted potty training 3 times over the last year, and it felt like we were failing miserably. I told a friend yesterday that potty training is honestly a spiritual experience because of how much it will stretch you and how, like, defeated you can feel when it doesn't go the way that you want it to go. And so a friend of mine had sent me a reel on Instagram of a poop party. And I showed this to my son about 6 months ago. And he said, yeah, mama, I want poop party. And I said, okay, if you want a poop party, you have to go poop on the potty. And he understood that. And he was asking for a poop party. Oh my goodness. Like every week for 6 months. And finally, just this past weekend, we had the poop party because he had been wearing big boy underwear to school every single day. This is insane, fam. Big boy underwear to school every single day for 2 weeks. He doesn't even wear a pull-up at nighttime or at nap time. We call them chonies, cloth superhero chonies, 24/7. We're going now on 3 weeks and he has not had a single accident, not a single accident. So we didn't throw a big birthday party at the beginning of March, but we did have a massive poop party. It was the best. Go check out my social medias because I have reels. It's hilarious. But we did do that at the end of the month. So your girl still threw a party for her little boy. Now, in terms of other things that I want to weave in here around mindset, coaching, my own inner world, things that I want to celebrate is, this feels like such a fun thing to say. My husband and I, like I said, January was 15 years of dating. This July will be 14 years of marriage. And so inside of that length of time, you can imagine that relationships are going to experience all different kinds of highs and lows. One of the biggest celebrations is right now, I feel like my marriage, my relationship to my husband is in a better place than it has ever been. It feels so good and so connected, and I feel so supported and so seen. And I really hope that he feels all of those things from me as well. And it didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen by chance. It happened through intention. It happened through choice. It happened through a lot of really, honestly, kind of big, confronting, hard conversations. But I am not going to cry right now. I'm so happy and inspired by us and in awe of where we are. And that really feels like one of the biggest wins of 2025 so far. I'm just obsessed with him and obsessed with us and obsessed with this beautiful life that we've built. So that was one of the other little personal touch points that I've had here. And moving into the final portion of this, other exciting things that happened. These are more recent. You probably heard me talk about some of these. Getting to not only go to the Energetics of Business event hosted by my dear friend and former mentor, Erin Nicole, but getting to speak on stage at that event was a literal dream come true. If you want to hear the ins and outs of all of that, we have a podcast episode that you can check out. So definitely go give that a listen. I feel like in terms of business and leadership, there was a lot that I was navigating in my inner world. This pressure, unnecessary pressure I was putting on myself, perfectionism, noticing all the ways that I've been giving my power away, and then using the tools that I have to come back home to myself was big. There's also part of February and March, the word momentum, and really two words, momentum magic, are just kind of floating around over the energy of those 2 months. I had the opportunity to host a totally free 3-day event. I love when my team and I get to produce events like this. So we had Momentum, the free 3-day experience. Shout out if you're listening and you were there. It was absolutely incredible. There is a level of energy and connection and sisterhood and expansion and like all of the incredible, yummy, wonderful things that we all want that gets activated in events like that. And it led into Momentum, the 4-week experience, which we actually just wrapped up today. And my heart is overflowing for, we had just over a dozen women go through that experience. And every time I host one of these kind of accelerated experiences. So I have a signature program called Energy Expansion Academy, and it's a 4-month transformational coaching program. And I really believe in the power of longevity and really working on yourself for a minimum, committing to a minimum, bare minimum of 3 months on any kind of identity shifting, mindset, transformational journey that you're going to go on, which is why Energy Expansion Academy is designed the way that it is. And also, I offer these accelerated programs. So I love having programs that are like 21 days, 30 days, 4 weeks. There is this energy that gets activated within me as a leader and as an entrepreneur, as a woman. It also trickles over. I was going to say like as a mom and a wife, because it also trickles over into my personal life. But more than anything, it's this infusion of energy for the women who I get to work with. And the magic that gets created in such a short period of time is truly extraordinary. And so that was a really big highlight, a professional highlight of this first quarter of 2025. And something else, fam, that feels so good and so exciting is that I have an offering called the Infinite Expansion Experience. And the Infinite Expansion Experience was basically me asking myself, like, what is the most insanely epic, iconic thing that I could ever imagine creating? And then me creating that and sharing it with the world. So in short, it is a year of unlimited one-on-one coaching. So one-on-one sessions, voice and text support. I jokingly, but also seriously call that like Dani in your pocket. A few of my clients have that and we absolutely love it. I love being able to support the dreamiest women in the world, like in real time, all the time. It's so life-giving and it's really helpful for them because they're not waiting until their next session to work through something. It's like life happens. There's a micro moment. There's a trigger. There's a struggle or a challenge that you're faced with, a hard conversation you need to have. Whip out your phone and message me. I've got you. I'm going to hold you through it. I'm going to support you every step of the way. And so the Infinite Expansion Experience includes that, but also part of unlimited one-to-one coaching is it includes a 2-day experience with me here in San Diego, where you just get your happy butt to the beautiful city, the sunny San Diego. I take care of accommodations, meals, programming, adventures, excursions, the things that I'm already booking. I'm so excited. And so I don't know if I already said it, But one of the women inside of Energy Expansion Academy said, hey, I want to upgrade to the Infinite Expansion experience. I want more time with you. And I really want to do that in-person 2-day breakthrough experience. So I'm so incredibly excited about that. It's going to be really, truly amazing. So in closing, a few of the things that I want to share is just what is working and what's not working. So clearly what's working is the dynamic in my home life. Things feel really good on the partnership, the relationship, the marriage, the intimacy front, all of those components. And I think it's also a metaphor for like how good we feel in our home now. When I was talking about the different home upgrades and improvements and just the really lovely shift in energy in our home, that's working really nicely. What's also working is podcasting. I freaking love this so much. It's so fun. And having this weekly cadence and being really clear about what I want to talk about and content creation, not just for the podcast, but for the other platforms where I show up, that's working really well. Just coaching, being in my zone of genius, having discovered, claimed, created a job. You can't call it a job. It's not fair to call this work, but to have discovered a way, created a way to make a living that allows me to be in my zone of genius all day, every day feels incredible. I feel like there is more focus, more clarity, more motivation, more inspiration, more embodiment, and more breakthroughs forever than ever within my own life, personally and professionally, but also what I'm getting to witness within my clients. I absolutely love that. And what's not working? What's not working? I feel like I want to come back to certain things with my health. This is not the worst that I've ever felt, but there's weird sort of energy dips. Again, there's this extra weight, like physical weight on my body, which I really do feel like is connected to something deeper. And I want to figure out what that is. There's also been some old programming, old ways of being, old ways of thinking that have been resurfacing around efforting and noticing where I'm tying my worthiness and my identity to how much I'm able to accomplish. Like this is something that I thought I had overcome years ago. And now in this new season of life, I'm getting to meet it again in a different way. And something else that's really interesting is I noticed this rushing, and I used the word pressure earlier, this unnecessary pressure that I was putting on myself, completely self-imposed. This was not coming from anyone else, not from anyone or anywhere else. It was all coming from inside of me. But I just was feeling really behind. It doesn't even logically make sense, but it's the only way I can describe this experience I was having of feeling behind. And I really took a step back just this past week, and I looked at the truth of the matter, personally, professionally, where I'm at, what I've accomplished, not just the accolades and the things on paper, but like the deep inner work I've been doing. In fact, I even pulled up my QuickBooks account, my accounting software, and realized this is the best Q1 we've ever had. Income-wise, impact-wise, fulfillment-wise. And so there's so many aspects of life and business that are literally better than ever. Yet there was some voice inside of me that was trying to convince me otherwise. And so I am so glad to say that I've got that under wraps. I've actually spent the last couple of days like really intentionally being with this, working on it, looking at it from different angles in a way that feels really supportive, not judgy, not making myself wrong, not shaming myself or shooting all over myself. And as a coach, I'm a gigantic believer in the coaching industry and the power of this work. And so I have also had sessions with a few, yes, I have more than one, a few of my own coaches this week, and it's been really illuminating. And just honestly, in a matter of the last 24 to 48 hours, so much of that has shifted, and I'm so grateful. But I wanted to share that here just in case maybe you've been experiencing something like that. So, in closing, I want to invite you to reflect on your Q1. Again, one of our very first podcast episodes is all about the power of reflection. And inside of the show notes there, I literally give you the exact formula, if you want to call it, like the exact process, the questions that I guide myself through that I give to my clients. But really quickly, here are some things to consider. When you reflect on the first quarter of 2025, which is January, February, March, and maybe you're listening to this later in the year, this can literally apply to any quarter, any length of time. The simplest questions to ask yourself are, what are you most proud of? What are your wins? What are you celebrating? What worked and what didn't work? What are you choosing to leave behind? Like something that you are not going to carry into this next season with you, this next month, this next quarter. And what are you choosing to step into? What are you claiming? Those are some really powerful, simple questions. Literally set a 5 or 10-minute timer and give yourself the opportunity to answer those. And a really fun way, just a little reflection tip. This is what I did, how I prepared for this today and how I normally reflect is I will have my paper planner. I live and breathe by my paper planner. I'll have my paper planner out and I will have my phone, my camera roll. Going through your camera roll when you're reflecting on any period of time is so helpful, and it will jog your memory and it will make you smile and it will make you feel all the good feels because 9.9 out of 10 times you're going to realize this is actually way better than I was giving myself credit for. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts. I always love hearing from you on the socials. So take a little screenshot of this, tag me, share it with a friend if that feels helpful. Send me a DM. Let me know what landed for you. Let me know if there was anything that surprised you about today's episode, about my Q1. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, Dani, we are the same. I can relate to all of that. Or maybe there's something that I shared here and you're navigating something similar in your own life and you're wanting a little support around that. You're wanting to be seen in that. Let me know. I'm totally here for it. I'm here for you. And one of my favorite things to say, one day I'm going to create merch, journals and hats and t-shirts and sweatshirts. And the first thing that it'll say is, you've got this and I've got you. You've got this and I've got you. And I will see you on the next episode. I love you so much.